As Iran launched its first strikes on American forces since Washington paused its daily bombing campaign, the U.S. pivoted to a new set of regional targets, teaming up with Saudi Arabia for joint strikes on pro-Iran groups in Iraq. Reports indicate the operation killed at least 20 members of the Popular Mobilization Forces, or the PMF, an umbrella organization of former paramilitaries now integrated into the Iraqi armed forces. Washington and Riyadh stated the strikes were direct retaliation for recent drone attacks against U.S. troops and Saudi oil facilities. Riyadh had earlier reported intercepting eastern province-bound drones, laying the blame on Iraqi-based Iran-backed militias, but these groups have dismissed the Saudi claims. Iran-backed groups have brigades that operate within the PMF alliance, but many of these groups have a reputation for acting on their own. They have not claimed any attacks since hostilities between the United States and Iran resumed early this month. While the U.S. targeted one set of Iranian allies in the region, another Tehran-backed group, the Houthis, targeted a Saudi oil tanker in the Red Sea with ballistic missiles. Apart from its regional allies, described as proxies by U.S. President Donald Trump and the West, Iran is also reportedly getting support internationally. Sources indicate that Iran is expected to receive shipment of Chinese-made shoulder-fired air defense missile launchers soon. This will be the first shipment out of up to 400 such systems from China. The purchase, valued at $60 to $70 million US, is one of Tehran's largest known efforts to strengthen its short-range air defenses since the outbreak of its war. Now, according to reports based on U.S. intelligence, Russia is providing intel on U.S. military targets to Iran. President Trump had said he would ask Russian President Putin directly about the allegations. The joint airstrikes by the U.S. and Saudi Arabia are first American joint mission on record with regional allies since U.S. launched strikes on Iran with Israel. Another close U.S. ally in the region, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, met with Trump in Washington. This was his first in-person talks with the president since the Iranian war began. We earlier spoke to Mr. Piotr Kurzin. He is a former United Nations and World Bank official. He is also an economist and a geopolitical expert, and this is what he told us.
I think that I would largely build on what my counterpart said, although one wonders about America's democracy these days. The Chinese are always slightly different in this regard. They are more tacit in their support. We can look back at early days of the Russian war against Ukraine in the form of non-lethal aid. So if the Chinese are providing very explicitly military equipment, weapon systems, whatever, this is a shift in policy and a more overt one. It shows China is probably quite worried a little bit. It has reserves in the case of oil and energy, but certainly no one was expecting the intensity and duration of this conflict by the Trump administration against Iran and Iran's durable defense. So I think the Chinese are conscious of the time horizon of this. Russia, it doesn't surprise me, and these two have a strategic partnership. It's unsurprising that the two will be providing surveillance and equipment. Iran's Shahed drones, as the Russians have refined over the years. But China, I think, is the bigger element here.
We also spoke to Mr. James Marlowe. He's a foreign and defense analyst. He's also an expert in West Asia affairs, and this is what he said.
I think it's been well known for some time that there has been an axis, not an official pact, but an axis between China, Russia, Iran, and even North Korea has been involved in that. There are various different reports that have come out over the last couple of weeks. So I think a lot of these reports are true. It has also been well known that the Chinese, in response to getting free oil or very cheap oil from the Iranians, have also been supplying the Iranians over the last 2 or 3 years with the attack drones, which have been used against Ukrainian civilians, not just Ukrainian army, but Ukrainian civilians. And this has been well known by the British, German, French, you mentioned the United States intelligence and Canadian intelligence for some time. It doesn't surprise any of us that this has now been raised to a brand new level, because Iran is under pressure, and the Russians and the Chinese, led by dictatorships, unlike the United States, want to get onto the side of the Iranians because there are two sides, and there's always been two sides.